following program is brought to you in living color on NBC.
A World's Fair is, to use a favorite word of W.C. Fields, a melange. It's a mixture, a conglomeration, a cluster of things. In fact, had this fair failed, we might have called it Cluster's Last Stand. Happily, it is succeeding. Now, this New York Fair is designed to do a number of things. It's designed to entertain, to divert, to instruct, to inform, to arouse the desire to travel, and to arouse the desire to buy. It's also intended to give some notion of the future. Many of these things the New York Fair does very well. Some of them it does not so well. Let's have a look.
There is a mysterious grapevine that makes an inside dopester of the average American, and the word has gone out across the land, come early. It is a good idea. To date, the New York World's Fair has been averaging about 185,000 admissions a day. That's somewhat below expectations, but hardly a sign of failure. The record day thus far saw almost 290,000 people attend. It costs $2 to get in, $1 for children under 12. There are also all sorts of special group rates and reduced rate books if you go often. A bit of advice for the budget-minded: on Mondays during July and August, all children are admitted for 25 cents. A pattern of attendance seems to be emerging, and if you're uncomfortable in huge crowds, it may help to know that Saturday, when the combination of tourists and local people is heaviest, is the busiest day. Sunday, when many out-of-towners are concluding their visit, is the lightest day, and late Sunday afternoon is a particularly uncrowded time. Access to the fair is easy. The New York subway system will drop you right at the fair gates. So will the much-maligned Long Island Railroad, which does a fine job. You can come by boat or helicopter. And of course, innumerable superhighways circle the fair, making it easy to get there via private automobile, taxi, or bus. Well, this is how a day at the fair begins. Everyone is full of energy and high spirits, and the insidious affliction known as World's Fair feet has not yet set in. One of the first things I did was to go on the Swiss Sky Ride. It costs 75 cents for a 4.5-minute ride, 35 cents for children. And it probably has its own numbered bank account in Zurich. It's a good way to get a general impression of the fair, an overall view. My own feeling was that the fair was not really futuristic. At least it did not represent any future city that I would find congenial. If it was futuristic, It was in a comic book way. As I rode along, it seemed to me I was transported back to my boyhood, to the worlds of Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon, and the kind of places they always seemed to be rocketing around in. I say this with no intent to complain. In its own outlandish way, the fair is funny and hospitable, and not to be taken too seriously. Architectural critics and city planners have generally attacked the fair for being a jumble, for blazing no new trails, for lacking taste. All of these judgments have some validity, but the fair, after all, is temporary and commercial. Great art rarely blossoms under those circumstances. What the fair really is a giant display of pop art. A note of caution, the Swiss Sky Ride, which costs about 17 cents a minute, is a one-way ride. Parents failing to heed the warning signs have been known to lose children at the distant terminal.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, all your attention, please. Silence.
This is a Mexican Indian dressed up as an eagle. He's part of one of the best free shows at the fair. The complaint has been made that the fair is too expensive and that anything worth seeing requires a long wait. Well, this outdoor show at the Mexican Pavilion is free and requires no wait at all. The troupe goes by the name The Flying Men of Papantla, and the show is produced by Senor Carlos Ochoa of Acapulco. The pole is 114 feet high, and the ceremony is aimed at inducing the rain god to perform as advertised. Before the ceremony, the Indians burn a chicken as protection. However, there's nothing chicken about their performance. The Mexicans deserve several loud oles for one of the best shows at the fair and one of the most stylish pavilions. At the Oregon Pavilion, lumberjacks toss axes around as though they were penknives. It's part of a show that costs $1, 75 cents for children, and it's worth it. There's a log rolling or burling contest with the loser falling into the water. This one was between a lumberjack and an apprentice. The lumberjack appeared to throw it or take a dive.
On your mark, get set.
The hit of the show is a pole climbing act. The giant timber is cut from a Douglas fir and is 120 feet high. It takes some time to get to the top, even using the methods woodsmen have evolved over the years. There is a big turnover in poles, we were told, but happily not in lumberjacks. Coming down is faster. The curtain call of a ton or so of lumberjacks looks like the Chicago Bears defensive unit being playful. All in all, Oregon has done one of the best jobs of any of the state exhibits.